Yes, you're on the Bible Forum. This is Warren Sprouse. We're here for you. This is July 16th, 2017, the Bible Forum. These are the events that have shaped our world in the last week. This is just in from Israel. On Friday morning, just 2 days ago, 2 police officers were shot dead in a terror attack at the Temple Mount complex in the old city of Jerusalem, apparently after morning prayers. The 3 terrorists, aged 19, 20, and 30, all came from the Arab city of al-Fam. Not sure where that is. Afterward, they fled back to the Temple Mount compound and were shot dead by other police officers on the scene. These men purposely stayed under the Israeli radar in order to provide maximum shock. They intended to die. They sought massive media coverage for their crime in order to apply maximum pressure on Israel. The Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, Mohammed Ahmad Hussein, the city's highest Islamic authority, was arrested. He apparently gathered people in the old city area to condemn the closure of the holy site for prayers following the attack. This happened on Friday. This is when thousands of male Muslims come to pray. With this going on, the Israeli police just shut down the whole area. Israel said it temporarily closed the site. They had to search for weapons. Jordan is condemning the closing of the Temple Mount, but Israel notes that Jordan did not condemn the attacks. Instead, in his speech, King Hussein of Jordan called on the Muslim masses to flood the holy site, and he condemned what he called Friday's Israeli aggression. In terms of peace in the region, this is not good. Republican lawmakers say the new bill that they just passed will support Charlie Gard's parents, support their right to choose what is best for their son by making Charlie a lawful permanent resident in the United States in order for him to receive treatment that could save his life. Representatives Brad Wenstrom from Ohio and Trent Franks from Arizona issued a statement that said, quote, "Despite Charlie's heartbreaking condition, his parents have refused to give up hope. They have advocated for him fiercely. They have raised over £1 million sterling to pay for their son to receive experimental treatment in the United States. They have kept fighting for his life." This according to Breitbart.com. Now, on Friday of this week, Charlie's parents stormed out of the courtroom. A U.S. specialist is traveling to Great Britain to testify in regard to medical treatment in terms of Charlie's condition. So it remains a very volatile situation. We'll see how this all works out. But the kind of treatment that we're talking about is experimental. It's called experimental nucleoside therapy. It's new. It's an oral treatment that would theoretically repair Charlie's DNA and give him the nutrients that his body cannot now produce due to his condition. According to the London Sun, a U.S. expert said 18 people have been treated with nucleoside bypass therapy, but none were in a condition as severe as Charlie's. There are 7 doctors from all over the world who are supporting this idea. Experts are giving the treatment a 10% chance of success. But Charlie's parents, Chris and Connie, are willing to try. Would you? Assuming you had the money in your hand, would you try? I know I would. The federal government here has reached contract agreements with 6 entities, 5 research groups, and a company for the Neural Engineering System Design Program, designed to merge human brains with computers. This according to a report in Joseph Farah's G2 bulletin. The current contracts seek, quote, a high-resolution neural interface that can be integrated into systems able to support potential future therapies for sensory restoration, end of quote. This means making the blind to see and the deaf to hear. 4 of the teams will focus on vision and 2 will focus on aspects of hearing and speech, the agency reported. The aim is to create an implantable system that provides precision communication between the brain and the digital world. 20 years ago, this was science fiction. Today, nobody really doubts it. They could probably do it. Billy Graham's turning 99 this year. His son Franklin says he's doing well. He does have the physical challenges that come with age. Franklin recently wrote on his Facebook page that his father enjoys visits from family members, including his sister, who is his only remaining sibling. Grandchildren, great-grandchildren also come by more frequently in the summer months. The elder Graham also enjoys visits from his pastor, Don Wilton. Pastor Wilton visits Billy Graham every week, something he's been doing for the past 20 years. What do you call a guy like that? You call him your pastor. With the rates of drug addiction and associated crime going up, the state of Oregon is saying, so what? The rates of opioid addiction continue to rise throughout America. More babies are being born with opioid addictions, and the government is forced to take children away from drug-addicted parents, which leads to an increase in the number of children forced to live in the foster care system. So what does the state of Oregon do? The Oregon legislature just passed 2 bills about a week or so ago, decriminalizing small amounts of 6 hard drugs, including cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, and ecstasy. The first of the 2 bills, now headed to the governor's desk, decriminalizes possession of the drug so long as the offender has neither a felony nor more than 2 prior drug convictions on their record. The second bill reduces drug-related property crimes from felonies to misdemeanors. I don't know about you, but that should work. This from the dailycaller.com. The state of Oregon, not wanting to be inconsistent, is in the process of enacting a law that would force taxpayers to fund abortions. The Reproductive Health Equity Act passed the Senate last week on a party line vote and aims to counteract the potential repealing of the Affordable Care Act. You do know Oregon is liberal, Democrat run. Among other things, the bill mandates that all insurance plans offer coverage for elective abortion without copay, including non-citizens, and sets aside over $10 million taxpayer dollars to cover the cost of abortions and other reproductive health services through the state Medicaid program. The bill has already passed both the House and the Senate in Oregon. Governor Kate Brown, a former abortion lobbyist, has confirmed that she will sign it into law soon. On the international scene, according to CNN, 2 Chinese Navy warships carrying an undisclosed number of military personnel left the port in China on Tuesday last week, heading to the country's first overseas military base. It will be in Djibouti, Africa. I know, and if you look on the map, you will see that this is strategically placed right at the entrance to the Red Sea. As you are coming around India into the Gulf of Aden from the Indian Ocean, you'll run into this Red Sea area, and there in the Horn of Africa is Djibouti. It's a pinch point on the way to the Red Sea. Make any sense? Of course it does. Every other major player in the world is there. We are. But this is a first for China, and it's getting some attention. China's not calling it a military installation, but rather a logistical support base. In the past, China would send support convoy fleets for escorts in the Gulf of Aden. Now they don't have to. Why would they send support convoy fleets for escorts in the Gulf of Aden? Because of piracy. But they're no threat. We'll see. Donald Trump Jr.'s meeting with a Russian lawyer has dominated the news this week. The left-wing media smells blood in the water. He met with a Russian lawyer claiming to have information about Hillary Clinton's campaign effort to undermine the Trump candidacy. Now, this is especially troublesome since the media is convinced it was the other way around. On Tuesday of this week, Donald Jr. released what he said was the entire email chain of his conversations setting up the meeting with this Russian attorney. It shows what appears to be an offer to provide information that would incriminate Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton as, quote, part of Russia and its government's support for Mr. Trump, end of quote. The first email in the chain from Goldstone, released by Trump, reads, "The Crown prosecutor of Russia met with his father this morning, and in their meeting offered to provide Trump campaign with some official documents and information that would incriminate Hillary and her dealings with Russia. Emails that would be very useful," he says, "to your father." What would you have done? This was at a time when everybody was saying that Russia was trying to get Trump elected. We know now that all that was bogus. The meeting itself and all of the hoopla prior to it was no doubt a Russian effort to further confuse and muddy the water. Would you have thought that way? I'm not sure. We now have hindsight and we say, whoa, time out. Why would you go to a meeting like that? But New York businessman types, they're not necessarily political and or sensitive to political intrigue. This is a team, a family that's learning. In the end, it appears there's no fault, no harm, no foul, rather. But we don't know, do we? Right now, it appears to be much ado about largely nothing. But there's enough people on the other side that are saying, what were they thinking? To make you wonder about the legalities, the proprieties, and all the rest of it. This is a story that will make the rounds for at least another week or two before being supplanted by another faux pas. Have you got your bunker ready? Are you prepared for the future? WorldNetDaily.com is saying that there are some folks who have built bunkers against the possibility of a bomb attack. Others have simply stored up food and water against whatever calamity might strike. While all eyes are on North Korea's recent test launch of an ICBM, some are focused on a more imminent threat. North Korea now has the capacity to lob something over into Alaska, maybe even into Hawaii. But North Korea already has 2 satellites in position to deal a near fatal blow to our electric grid. An EMP attack from space would occur at an altitude and trajectory that would evade U.S. national missile defenses, according to the national security experts. The test launch missiles are highly significant. However, U.S. military and other experts aren't worried about them, at least not yet. One news report quoted a high-ranking military type saying, quote, when this test was being conducted, the U.S. had eyes on Premier Kim Il-jung the entire time. For 90 minutes or more, they were able to describe every move he made prior to and during the test. What's the message? The message is, Mr. Premier, we can take you out whenever we want to. Hopefully that will calm things down. Not likely. It may just ramp things up. These people don't think like we do. There were some stupid people demonstrating in Germany this past week. The G20 meetings is what they were upset about. They had peaceful demonstrations in Hamburg. Police needed to respond with water cannons and pepper spray for these peaceful demonstrations. Businesses and residents are routinely suffering vandalism and arson to their property. What's going on here? Well, these so-called demonstrators want open borders. They want more wealth distribution. They want an end to capitalism. Are they sentient creatures? Can they count 2 + 2? I don't know. According to the Daily Mail in the UK, protesters say the G20 has failed to solve many of the issues threatening world peace, including climate change, worsening inequality, and violent conflicts, thus accomplishing at the rally the very things they claim they're against. That's why they're known as stupid people. The arson, the rioting, the vandalism initiated by the protesters is no doubt designed to illustrate how peaceful and inclusive they really are. Their violent opposition to violent conflicts merely echoes similar protests that have taken place in many Western nations, even here in America. Beer appears to be a popular fuel for the rioters. As with most protests of this nature, it's a little vague what these people find objectionable, but the themes have emerged. Themes that you've heard probably from your own 2-year-old. I want what I want, and I want it now. Speaking of violence, Ramadan is the month of fasting for Islam. It forms one of the 5 pillars of Islam, something we didn't know very much about until Obama became president. Ramadan is now associated with threats and violence both in Saudi Arabia and around the world. This year, during Ramadan, May 27th to June 24th, 2017, there was a threat of violence at a Manhattan mosque, an assault of a woman on a Boston train, pellet gun vandalism at a New York mosque, hateful phone calls at Denver mosques, and harassment of girls wearing hijabs in Chicago. The Christian ministry Barnabas Fund has highlighted another statistic. Around and during Ramadan, it noted 1,629 people were killed by Muslims this year. The press will tell you about the threats to the Manhattan Mosque, to the New York Mosque, the Denver Mosque, to girls wearing hijabs, but what about the 1,629 people? On May 26, just as Ramadan was about to start, jihadists attacked buses carrying Egyptian Christians to a monastery. They killed 29 people, some of them young children. During the rest of the month of Ramadan, jihadists killed more than 1,600 people, making it the bloodiest Ramadan in recent history. The website The Religion of Peace counted 164 jihad attacks worldwide just in the month of June. And although that doesn't align directly with Islam's Ramadan, the site noted the death toll was 1,176, mainly from 34 suicide blasts and 30 different countries. What kind of a person blows themselves up? Just in the last few days, 7 children were executed in Iraq and hung from lampposts by ISIS, according to reports. And over the weekend, 9 villagers in Kenya were beheaded like chickens by Islamic extremists. This is the peaceful religion of Muhammad at work around the world. And now you know what was going on while you were busy working, taking care of business. And tomorrow we start all over again.